Welcome back to QZ Stories, where ordinary neighbors face unbelievable HOA drama, and justice always finds a way to shine. The day I signed the papers for my quiet home, I thought my life had finally slowed down. A peaceful neighborhood, a backyard with a view, and enough space to breathe. But that peace shattered one morning when the roar of engines shook me awake. I stepped outside and froze. Construction trucks lined the street. Workers in bright vests hammered away. And on my land, not near it, not beside it, but directly on it, stood the steel skeleton of a massive structure. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of neighborhood project, a shed or maybe a small pavilion. But as the pieces came together, it became painfully clear. It was a gas station, and the person orchestrating the entire thing? HOA Karen. She stood at the site's edge like a commander on a battlefield. Short blonde bob tucked behind her ears, clipboard in one hand, finger pointing furiously as she barked orders. When I confronted her, she smirked like I was a child who didn't understand the rules. "This land is for community benefit," she said, dripping with arrogance. "You'll thank us when gas prices rise." My jaw tightened. She wasn't just overstepping boundaries. She was seizing my property and turning it into her empire. And I knew in that moment, this wasn't going to end with a friendly chat. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. Maybe the contractors had been misdirected. Maybe someone in the HOA office had read the wrong survey map. So I pulled out my deed, walked the property lines, and checked everything twice. My boundaries were crystal clear. The steel beams sat dead center on my lot. When I showed Karen the paperwork, she barely glanced at it. Her response? She laughed. "Don't worry about that. The HOA has rights you wouldn't understand. We can repurpose unused land for the community. And besides," she sneered, "you should be grateful. This project will raise everyone's property value." Then she handed me a paper, a fine. Apparently, I was being charged for interfering with approved construction. That was the moment I realized this wasn't ignorance. It was theft, plain and simple. Now, let me ask you something. What would you do if your HOA built a gas station on your property? Would you call the cops? Lawyer up? Or would you fight fire with fire? Me? I decided to stay quiet. Not silent out of weakness, silent out of strategy. I took photos. I documented every arrogant email. I saved every so-called fine. Because I knew one thing for sure. Karen's arrogance was going to bury her. Within weeks, the gas station started looking real. The pumps arrived, signs went up, and suddenly, random drivers were pulling into what used to be my yard. Cars parked across my lawn. Strangers walked over my property like it was theirs. Kids dropped candy wrappers near my mailbox. It wasn't just disrespect. It was trespassing on a massive scale. That's when I called the city inspector. When he walked onto the property and looked at my documents, his brow furrowed. "You're telling me this entire structure is sitting on your lot?" he asked. "Yes," I said firmly. "And here's the deed, stamped by the county." Before he could respond, Karen swooped in like a hawk. "Ignore him," she snapped. "He's bitter. The HOA approved this, and it's none of his business." The inspector raised an eyebrow. He clearly wasn't buying it. Minutes later, he ordered the pumps shut down pending investigation. The look on Karen's face? Priceless. Her cheeks turned crimson. "You'll regret this," she screamed at me. "You can't fight the HOA. We run this neighborhood." I smiled, calm as ever. "Oh, Karen," I said quietly, "you have no idea who you're up against." The legal battle began. Karen marched into court like she was queen of the suburbs. Her stack of evidence towered on the table. A mess of fake bylaws, doctored HOA rules, and so-called community petitions. She claimed eminent domain. She claimed the HOA had the right to seize property. She even claimed I had verbally agreed to the project. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so bold. But my lawyer had come prepared. When our turn came, he dropped a single folder on the judge's desk. Inside were the county's official property maps, my deed, and signed approvals confirming that no easement or exception existed. And then came the bombshell. Not only did I own the land under the gas station, I owned the road leading into it. Every single car that had driven across it had been trespassing. The courtroom went silent. Karen's face drained of color. Her board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The judge leaned forward. "So, Mrs. Karen, you built an entire gas station on land you had no right to touch?" Karen opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For the first time in her life, she was speechless. The ruling came fast. The judge's words cut sharper than any weapon. "The gas station? Mine. The profits? Mine. Karen, guilty of fraud, fined heavily, and ordered to pay damages for trespassing and harassment." When the news broke, neighbors swarmed outside my home. Some were shocked, others secretly thrilled. Many had suffered under her HOA rule for years, too afraid to speak out. Now they weren't afraid anymore. Karen stormed down the courthouse steps, shrieking about conspiracies, reporters flashing cameras in her face. But nobody cared. Some neighbors clapped, others laughed. For the first time, justice felt like a living, breathing thing. I just stood there, calm, arms folded, watching her empire crumble. The gas station she thought would crown her queen of the neighborhood now belonged entirely to me. And the best part? She had built it with her own arrogance. Months later, the gas station thrived under new management. My management. Every time I fueled up my truck, I remembered the sight of her red face in that courtroom, her confidence draining away like spilled gasoline. Every dollar I made was a reminder. Arrogance comes with a price. Neighbors treated me with respect now. No one in the HOA dared cross me again. And Karen? She vanished from the board entirely, her reputation shredded beyond repair. The neighborhood was peaceful again, quieter, calmer. Not because of the gas station, but because Karen had finally been silenced. And the moral? Never let bullies steal your peace. Patience, evidence, and persistence will outlast arrogance every single time. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't yelling back. It's letting the bully build their own downfall brick by brick, and then standing calmly as the truth collapses around them. Because in the end, the best way to